Officer Jenkins stood on the porch, red-faced, sweating, yelling. "Your sons are trash, Eleanor. Always were, and you're trash for taking them in. You got 1 week to get out of this house. 1 week, or I'll arrest you myself." Eleanor Chen stood in the doorway, 60 years old, gray hair pulled back, simple blue dress. She said nothing, just looked at him. Jenkins sneered. "Nothing to say? Good. Mr. Coleman wants his house back. Rent's going up to $3,000 a month. Can't pay? Then get the fuck out." He turned, walked down the steps, got in his patrol car, drove away. Eleanor closed the door, slowly, walked back to the dining room. 4 men sat at the table, all in their 30s, all watching her. The oldest one, tall, gray suit, federal judge, put down his napkin, voice cold as ice. "Mom, who the fuck was that?" The house was small, old craftsman style from the 1920s. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen with yellow tiles from the 70s, living room with a couch that sagged in the middle. But it was clean, always clean. Flowers on the table, smell of roast chicken and garlic, bread baking in the oven. Eleanor stood at the stove, stirred gravy, checked the chicken. 60 years old, but her hands were steady, strong. Years of cooking for boys who ate like wolves. Sound of cars outside, expensive cars, engines purring. She smiled, wiped her hands on her apron, walked to the door. 4 men got out of 4 different cars. BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Tesla. Marcus Chen, 36 years old, 6'2", broad shoulders, gray suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Federal judge, youngest ever appointed in the district. James Chen, 34, lean, calm eyes, doctor, cardiothoracic surgeon, saved lives every day, published in medical journals. Robert Chen, 32, sharp dresser, expensive watch, defense attorney, charged $2,000 an hour, won cases nobody else could win. Daniel Chen, 30, military posture, hard eyes, prosecutor, sent criminals to prison. Conviction rate, 97%. 4 different last names on their birth certificates. 4 different foster homes before Eleanor. 4 different sets of scars. 1 family now. Marcus reached the door first, hugged Eleanor, gentle despite his size. "Mom, how are you?" "Good, sweetheart. Come in. Dinner's almost ready." James next, kissed her cheek. "You look tired." "I'm fine. Just been cooking all day." Robert hugged her tight. "You're working too hard." "Nonsense. I like cooking for you boys." Daniel last, the youngest, the hardest, but he hugged her longest. "Missed you, Mom." "Missed you too, baby." They walked inside. Marcus took off his jacket, hung it carefully on the back of a chair. The jacket probably cost $3,000, custom tailored. He rolled up his sleeves, expensive watch glinted. James went straight to the wine rack, pulled out a bottle. "Mom, you still have the Bordeaux I brought last month." "I'm saving it." "For what?" "Special occasion." "This is a special occasion. We're all together." He opened it anyway, poured 5 glasses. Robert set the table, moved efficiently. Plates, silverware, napkins. He'd learned young. In foster care, you did your chores or you didn't eat. The habit stuck. Daniel carved the chicken, strong hands, steady, precise cuts. Prosecutor's precision carried into everything. Eleanor watched them move around her kitchen, her boys. 20 years ago, they'd been angry kids, broken, violent. Now they were men, successful, powerful, but still her boys. They sat down, Marcus at the head of the table, James and Robert on one side, Daniel on the other, Eleanor between Daniel and Marcus. For a few minutes, nobody talked, just ate. Passed bread, butter, salt. The chicken was perfect. Crispy skin, tender meat, garlic and rosemary. James broke the silence first. Mom, this is incredible. It's just chicken. It's never just chicken when you make it. She smiled, patted his hand. Marcus cut a piece, chewed, nodded approval. Better than any restaurant. You boys are biased. Robert poured more wine. We're honest. There's a difference. Daniel reached for seconds already. Slow down, James said. You're eating like you just got out of prison. Fuck off. I didn't eat lunch. Language, Eleanor said mildly. Sorry, Mom. Marcus looked at Daniel, raised an eyebrow. Why didn't you eat lunch? Court ran long. Murder trial. Defense tried to get evidence thrown out. Took 4 hours to argue. Did you win? Of course I won. Evidence stays in. Trial continues Monday. Robert smirked. 4 hours? I could have argued that in 20 minutes. You argue for criminals. Different skill set. I argue for constitutional rights, something prosecutors often forget. Daniel's eyes narrowed. I don't forget shit. I just don't let technicalities free guilty people. Technicalities like due process? Technicalities like defense attorneys lying. James held up his hand. Here we go. Marcus sipped his wine, enjoying the show. Robert leaned forward. I don't lie. I present alternative interpretations of evidence. That's called lying. That's called my job, which I'm very good at, hence the $2,500 an hour. Eleanor interrupted gently. Boys, let's talk about something else. They quieted immediately. Old habits. When Mom spoke, you listened. Marcus changed the subject. How's the hospital, James? James shrugged. Busy. We had 3 open-heart surgeries this week, all successful. 3? That's a lot. Summer's heart attack season. Heat, stress. People don't take care of themselves. Daniel pointed his fork at James. Says the man who drinks 4 cups of coffee a day. That's different. How? I'm a doctor. I know my limits. Robert laughed. That's what they all say, right before the heart attack. I'm 34 and healthy. You're 34 and stressed. There's a difference. Eleanor watched them. They argued constantly, but there was love underneath. Always love. She remembered when they first came to her. 4 different boys, 4 different years, 4 different tragedies. Marcus first, 16 years old, caught in a gang fight. Not in a gang, just wrong place, wrong time. But the cops didn't care, arrested him anyway. Nobody wanted to foster a 16-year-old with an arrest record. Except Eleanor. She saw something in him. Intelligence. Anger, yes, but also pain, loss. A boy who'd grown up without anyone caring. She brought him home, gave him a room, rules, structure. He fought her at first, tested boundaries, broke curfew, started fights at school. But she never gave up, never yelled, just looked at him, waited, let him figure it out himself. It took 6 months. Then something changed. He stopped fighting, started studying, realized he could be more than what the world expected. Graduated high school with honors, full ride to college, law school, federal judge by 35, all because someone believed in him. Then James, 2 years after Marcus, 14 years old, caught stealing, not for fun, for food. He'd been living on the streets for 3 months after his foster family kicked him out. Eleanor saw the intelligence in his eyes, the curiosity, the hunger to learn. She took him in, enrolled him in school, bought him books. He devoured them. Science, biology, medicine. Marcus helped him study. Older brother protecting younger brother. James became a doctor, saved lives, published research, all because someone gave him a chance. Robert came next, 12 years old, angry, so angry. He'd been in 7 foster homes, each one worse than the last. Nobody wanted him. Too much trouble, too much rage. But Eleanor saw past the anger, saw a boy who'd been hurt, abandoned, told he was worthless. She took him in, gave him stability, love. He tested her constantly, stole from her, lied, ran away twice. She brought him back both times, never punished. Just said, "This is your home. You're allowed to be scared, but you're not allowed to give up." He stopped running, started talking. Therapy helped. So did having Marcus and James as brothers. He channeled his rage into debate, into law, became an attorney, one of the best, all because someone refused to give up on him. Daniel was last, 10 years old, the youngest, the hardest case. He'd set fires, hurt other kids, been labeled dangerous. Nobody would take him. Too much risk. Eleanor didn't care about risk. She cared about a 10-year-old boy who'd never known love, who'd learned that violence was the only language people understood. She took him in, gave him rules, consequences, but also hugs, patience, time. Her 3 older boys helped. They'd all been angry once. They understood. Daniel fought them all, for months, testing, pushing, waiting for them to send him away. They never did. Eventually he broke, cried, let them in. Marcus taught him to channel anger into purpose. James taught him to think before acting. Robert taught him to use words as weapons instead of fists. Daniel became a prosecutor, put criminals away, protected victims, all because someone loved him when he was unlovable. Now they were all here, grown men, successful, happy, her boys. Eleanor's eyes got misty. She blinked the tears away. Marcus noticed. "Mom, you okay?" "I'm fine, just remembering." "Remembering what?" "When you all first came to me, how different you were." James smiled. "We were assholes." Language. "Sorry, we were difficult." "You were hurting. There's a difference." Robert raised his glass to Mom, who saw 4 broken kids and decided they were worth fixing. "We weren't broken," Marcus said. "We were bent. Mom just helped us straighten out." Daniel added softly, "She loved us when nobody else would." They all looked at Eleanor. She wiped her eyes. "You boys are going to make me cry." "Good tears, I hope. The best tears." Silence for a moment, comfortable, warm. Then Marcus broke it. "All right, enough sentimental shit. Who wants to hear embarrassing stories?" Groans around the table. "No," James said. "Come on, it's tradition. It's humiliation. It's family bonding." Robert grinned. "I've got a good one." "Don't you dare," Daniel warned. "Remember when Danny was 15, tried to ask out that girl, Sarah?" Daniel's face went red. "Robert, I swear to God, he practiced his speech for a week in the mirror. We all heard him." Marcus started laughing. "Oh shit, I remember this." James was grinning too. "He had note cards." "I did not have note cards." "You absolutely had note cards." Daniel threw a piece of bread at Robert. "You're an asshole. You're the one who practiced asking out a girl like it was a court case." "I was nervous." "You were adorable," Eleanor said. "Mom." "You were, and Sarah said yes. For like 2 weeks. Then she dumped me for a football player." "His loss," Marcus said loyally. "Her loss," James corrected. Robert raised his glass. "To Danny's first heartbreak, and the note cards that couldn't save him." "Fuck all of you." Laughter filled the room. This was family. Not blood, not genetics. Choice. Love. Showing up every Sunday for dinner. arguing, laughing, protecting each other. Eleanor looked at her 4 sons. Her heart swelled. They'd saved her as much as she'd saved them, maybe more. Then Marcus started. "So, James, heard you lost a patient last week." James looked up, raised an eyebrow. "Who told you that?" "Dr. Morrison. We had lunch Tuesday." "Morrison's a gossip, and I didn't lose the patient. He survived, unlike some of your defendants who end up in prison for life." Robert laughed, poured more wine. "Marcus doesn't have defendants. He's a judge. He just sits there looking important." Marcus shot him a look. "I do more than sit there." "Sure, you nap too." Daniel snorted into his water. "You're all terrible at your jobs." "Oh, really?" Robert turned to him. "What's your conviction rate again?" 97%? That means you lost 3 cases. I bet I could have won those. You defend criminals. I prosecute them. We're not the same. We're exactly the same. I just get paid better. You get paid to lie. I get paid to ensure constitutional rights. You should try it sometime. Eleanor watched them, smiling. They did this every Sunday. Argued, insulted each other, all of it fake. All of it love, disguised as fighting. Marcus ate a bite of chicken, looked at Robert. "How much are you charging these days? $2,000 an hour?" $2,500. Daniel choked. $2,500? For what? To stand in court and bullshit? It's called advocacy, and yes, that's exactly what I do. Bullshit professionally. You should try it. Might win more cases. I win 97%. So you've mentioned 16 times tonight. James raised his glass. "Can we not talk about work? Mom cooked. Let's enjoy it." They quieted down, ate, passed bread, butter, more wine. Then Marcus leaned back, looked at James. "Hey, remember when Mom picked you up that first time? From the station?" James groaned. "Here we go." Robert grinned. "Which time? You got arrested like 6 times. "Fuck off. I got arrested 3 times. And the 3rd one wasn't even my fault." Daniel laughed. "They're never your fault." Eleanor put down her fork, looked at them. "Tell the story, James. I want to hear it." James sighed, took a drink, looked at the ceiling like he was asking for patience. "Fine. Okay. I was 14, stupid, angry, thought I was tough." He paused, rotated his wine glass. "There was this kid at school, rich kid, Brad something. He had this car, brand new BMW. His daddy bought it for his 16th birthday. He'd park it right in front of school, show it off, everyone kissing his ass." "You were jealous," Robert said. "I was pissed. This kid had everything. Parents who loved him, money, future, and I had nothing. I was living with," he glanced at Eleanor, "my 3rd foster family. They didn't give a shit about me. I was just a check to them." Eleanor's face softened with old pain. James continued. "So one night, I'm walking past the school, late, like midnight, and there's the car, just sitting there in the parking lot. Brad left it there because why wouldn't he? Nobody's going to steal from a rich kid, right?" "Oh, no," Daniel muttered. "Oh, yes. I found a rock, broke the window, hot-wired it, took maybe 10 minutes, and I'm driving. First time I'd ever driven, no license, no clue what I'm doing, but I'm driving this BMW and I feel powerful, like I finally have something." Marcus shook his head. "This doesn't end well, does it?" "Made it about 5 minutes before I hit a tree." Robert nearly spit out his wine. 5 minutes? 5 fucking minutes. Took a turn too fast. Panicked. Slammed the gas instead of the brake. Straight into an oak tree. Airbag deployed. Hit me in the face. Blood everywhere. He touched his nose unconsciously. It had a slight crook from the brake. Cops showed up in 3 minutes. Someone heard the crash. I'm sitting there, bleeding, car totaled, and I'm thinking, this is it. I'm going to juvenile detention, maybe prison, and honestly, I didn't care. At least in prison, people know you're trash, not like foster care where they pretend you matter. Silence around the table. Cops arrested me, threw me in a cell. It was, I don't know, 2 a.m., 3. I sat there for hours. Nobody came. Nobody called. My foster parents didn't answer. Why would they? I was just a paycheck. He looked at Eleanor. Then Mom showed up. Eleanor smiled gently. I got the call at 2:30. Officer said he had a boy, 14 years old, car theft, destruction of property, probably going to juvie. Did I want to come get him, or should they call social services? James's voice got rougher. I heard her voice, through the walls, talking to the desk sergeant, calm, patient, saying yes, she'd take me. She'd sign the papers. She'd bring me home. I didn't know you then, Robert said. Mom had just taken me in 2 months before. I was 12, still figuring out if she was real or if she'd send me back like everyone else. James nodded. She came back to the cell, looked at me through the bars. I was ready for the lecture, the disappointment, the anger. Instead, she just said, "Let's go home, James." "That's it?" Daniel asked. "That's it." We walked to her car, this old Honda, beat up, rusted, but it ran. We got in, started driving, and I'm waiting for her to yell, to tell me how stupid I was, how I'd ruined my life, how she was done with me. He paused, took a long drink. 5 minutes, 10, 15, complete silence. Just the sound of the engine, the road. I couldn't take it anymore. I said, "Aren't you going to yell at me?" Eleanor's voice was soft. And I said, "Why would I yell? You already know what you did." James laughed, no humor in it. And I did. Sitting in that cell for 3 hours, I'd replayed everything. How stupid it was, how dangerous, how I'd hurt people. Brad, even though I hated him, destroyed property, risked my life. I knew. Yelling wouldn't add anything. "So what happened when you got home?" Daniel asked. James looked at Robert and Marcus. "You were both waiting at the kitchen table. Marcus, you were reading a law textbook. Robert, you were doing homework." Marcus nodded. "I heard Mom leave, heard her come back. I knew someone new had fucked up." Robert grinned. "I was hoping it wasn't me for once." James smiled slightly. "Mom sat me down at the table, then you two just sat there, all 3 of you, staring at me. Nobody saying anything, the clock ticking, the fridge humming. That's it." "How long?" Eleanor asked. "Felt like hours, probably 5 minutes, but it was the longest 5 minutes of my life. You were all looking at me, not angry, just waiting, like you knew I'd figure it out." He swallowed hard. "And then I started crying, just broke down. I said, 'I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I fucked up. I know I fucked up. Please don't send me back. Please.'" Eleanor reached over, put her hand on his. "And I said, 'You're home, James. No matter what you do, no matter how many times you mess up, you're home. You're my son now, and I don't give up on my sons.'" Silence. James wiped his eyes. That was the first time anyone ever said that to me, that I was home, that I mattered, that they wouldn't give up. Robert spoke quietly. "Then we beat your ass." Everyone laughed, including James. "Yeah, you did. After Mom went to bed. Marcus held me down. Robert hit me 3 times. "You deserved it," Marcus said without heat. "You made Mom cry." "She cried?" "After you went to sleep. She sat in the living room and cried because she thought she'd failed you, that she hadn't given you enough, hadn't loved you enough. That's why you stole the car." James looked stricken. "I didn't know." "We told you the next morning. Said if you ever made Mom cry again, we'd hit you 10 times. Did I ever? Once, when you were 17, got drunk, crashed your bike. And? We hit you 10 times. James laughed. I remember. Couldn't sit for a week. Eleanor shook her head. You boys were so protective. You protected us first, Marcus said. We just returned the favor. Daniel looked at Marcus. What about you? When did Mom pick you up the first time? Marcus set down his wine glass, took a breath. First time was 6 months before James. I was 16, brand new foster kid. Mom had just gotten approved. I was her first. Lucky her, Robert muttered. I was a nightmare, angry, violent. I'd been in 3 group homes, 2 foster families. Both sent me back, said I was too much trouble. What happened? James asked. Marcus's jaw tightened. Got in a fight, outside a bar, 3 guys, college kids. They were harassing this girl, pushing her around. She was crying, saying no. And everyone just watched. You stepped in, Eleanor said. I stepped in, told them to back off. They laughed, called me a street rat, said I should mind my business. So I hit the first one, hard, broke his nose. Daniel whistled. Bold move. Stupid move. His 2 friends jumped me. We fought. I mean, really fought. One pulled a knife, slashed my arm. He rolled up his sleeve, showed an old scar, 6 inches long. I grabbed a bottle, hit him with it, knocked him out. The other one ran. And the cops showed up, Robert guessed. And the cops showed up, arrested me. The college kids, they disappeared, left before cops arrived. So it's just me, bloody, holding a broken bottle, standing over an unconscious guy. Self-defense, James said immediately. That's what I said. Cops didn't care. I had priors, juvie record. I was the criminal. Didn't matter what actually happened. He looked at Eleanor. I sat in that cell thinking, this is it. I'm done. 16 years old and my life's over. Nobody's coming. Nobody cares. I'll go to juvie, then prison. Then I'll die in prison. That's my story. Then I called, Eleanor said. Then she called. 3 a.m. Officer came to my cell, said, someone's here for you. I said, bullshit. Nobody's here for me. He said, woman named Eleanor Chen says she's your foster mother. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I didn't believe it, thought it was a trick. But I went, and there she was, standing at the desk, tiny woman, 5'3", gray hair, simple dress. She looked at me. I was 6'2", covered in blood, handcuffs, and she smiled. You smiled? Daniel asked Eleanor. I smiled because I saw a boy who'd protected someone, who'd fought against injustice, who'd been punished for doing the right thing. And I thought, that's a good boy. That's my boy. Marcus continued. She signed papers, took me home. We drove in silence. I was waiting for the lecture, the anger, the regret. She parked, turned to me, and said, Eleanor finished, I said, you did the right thing. Those boys were hurting that girl. You stopped them. I'm proud of you. Marcus's eyes were wet. Nobody had ever said that to me, ever. I'd spent 16 years being told I was trash, worthless, a mistake. And here's this woman saying she's proud of me. He cleared his throat. She brought me inside, fed me, cleaned my wounds, put me to bed. And I lay there thinking, this isn't real. Tomorrow she'll realize her mistake. She'll send me back." "But you didn't," Robert said to Eleanor. "I didn't. The next morning I told Marcus, 'You're home now, and I don't give up easily, so you might as well accept it.'" Marcus laughed. "I tested you for 6 months." "You certainly did. Broke curfew, started fights at school, failed tests, stole from you." $40 from my purse," Eleanor said mildly. "You knew?" "Of course I knew. I counted my money every night." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you were testing me, seeing if I'd give up. I wasn't going to give you the satisfaction." Marcus shook his head in wonder. "You're something else, Mom." "I'm stubborn. There's a difference." Robert finished his wine, poured more. "All right, my turn. I've got a good one." Daniel groaned. "We've heard all your stories." "Not this one. This one's about why I broke that kid's nose in 7th grade. James sat up. "Oh, shit. The Trevor incident." "The Trevor incident." Robert leaned forward, elbows on the table. "I was 12. New school, trying to fit in. This kid Trevor, rich kid, daddy's money, thought he was hot shit. He started talking about Mom." The table went quiet. He said, "Your mom takes in trash from foster care. You're all rejects. Broken toys nobody wanted." "So I broke his nose." Marcus nodded slowly. "Good. Cops came to school, arrested me. Mom showed up with Officer Jenkins." Everyone tensed. Daniel's jaw clenched. James's hands tightened on his glass. "That fucking asshole," Daniel muttered. Robert continued. Jenkins looked at Mom, said, "Eleanor, this is the 4th kid you've picked up from the station. Maybe stop collecting garbage." "And Mom," he looked at Eleanor. She smiled sadly. Mom looked him dead in the eye, said, "My children aren't garbage." Jenkins laughed, said, "They're criminals, little thugs. One of them's going to kill someone eventually." And Mom said, Eleanor finished the sentence. "I said, no, because I love them, and love makes people better, not worse." Robert's voice was rough. "I was 12 years old, standing there in handcuffs, and I realized she was defending us, protecting us from cops, from the system, from everyone who looked at us and saw trash." James put his hand on Robert's shoulder. "She always did." "Still does," Marcus added. Daniel spoke quietly. "Jenkins is still a piece of shit." Everyone nodded. Eleanor stood up, started clearing plates. "More pie, boys?" "Yes," they all said at once. She smiled, walked to the kitchen. Daniel waited until she was gone, turned to his brothers. "Speaking of Jenkins," Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What about him?" "I saw him last week, downtown. He's still a cop, still harassing people, still a corrupt asshole." Robert frowned. "He should have been fired years ago." "He should have been arrested years ago," James said. Marcus was about to respond when the doorbell rang. They all looked toward the front door. Eleanor came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands. "I'll get it." She walked to the door, opened it. 2 men stood on the porch. Mr. Coleman, 50 years old, fat, sweating in a cheap suit. Landlord, owner of 15 rental properties. Slumlord would be more accurate. And Officer Jenkins, 55, graying hair, uniform stretched tight over his gut, mean eyes. The same cop who'd arrested all 4 boys years ago. Coleman spoke first, voice loud, aggressive. "Eleanor, time's up. I'm raising the rent from $1,000 to $3,000 a month." Eleanor's face didn't change. "I can't afford $3,000. "Then move out. You got 1 week." Jenkins stepped forward, smirking. "And don't think about complaining. I'll make sure you regret it." Marcus stood up from the table, walked to the door. 6'2" of controlled fury. "Who the fuck are you?" Jenkins looked at him. Recognition flickered, then a nasty smile. Marcus? Little Marcus Chen? The kid who used to start fights? You grew up, but you're still trash. Marcus's voice was ice. Officer Jenkins, surprised you're still employed, given all the complaints. James appeared next to Marcus, then Robert, then Daniel. All four brothers standing in the doorway, blocking Coleman and Jenkins. Jenkins looked at all of them, laughed. Well, well, the whole gang. I should have locked you all up when I had the chance. Fucking delinquents. Coleman puffed up his chest. Eleanor, 1 week, $3,000 a month, or you're out. I'm selling this house, and I need you gone. Jenkins added, and I'll personally make sure she leaves, peacefully or in handcuffs. Don't care which. Marcus took a step forward, voice deadly quiet. You need to leave. Now. Coleman sneered. Or what? You'll hit me? You're still a thug, Marcus, just wearing a nicer suit. Robert stepped forward, pulled out his phone, started recording. Please, make a threat. Give me something I can use in court. Jenkins's hand went to his belt, to his gun. You threatening an officer? Daniel moved fast, stepped between them. Prosecutor's voice, cold, professional. Officer Jenkins, you're on private property, making threats. I suggest you leave before I file a formal complaint. Jenkins stared at him. Danny? Little Danny Chen? You're a fucking prosecutor now? That's right, and I know the law. You're violating it. Leave. Coleman grabbed Jenkins's arm. Come on, we made our point. 1 week, Eleanor, then you're out. They turned, walked down the steps, got in Coleman's car, drove away. Marcus watched until they were gone, then closed the door, turned to his mother. Mom, how long has this been happening? Eleanor looked at the floor. 6 months. 6 months? James's voice rose. Why didn't you tell us? I didn't want to worry you. You're all busy. Robert shook his head. We're never too busy for you. Daniel's voice was hard. What else, Mom? Tell us everything. Eleanor walked back to the dining room, sat down. The boys followed. She took a breath. Coleman bought this house 2 years ago. The previous owner was nice, reasonable rent, but Coleman, he raises the rent every few months. Started at $800, then $1,000, then $1,500, now $3,000. That's illegal, Robert said immediately. Rent control laws limit increases. He doesn't care. He wants me out. Said he can sell the house for $400,000 if it's empty. Marcus clenched his fists. And Jenkins? Eleanor's voice got quieter. He comes by every week, says he's checking on things, looking for code violations, threatening to arrest me if I don't leave. He says it's payback for all of you, all the times he had to arrest you boys. He says I raised criminals and I deserve to suffer. Silence. Then Daniel stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the street, voice shaking with rage. That motherfucker! James put his head in his hands. We should have dealt with him years ago. Robert pulled out his phone, started making notes. We're dealing with him now. Marcus looked at his mother, at the woman who'd saved all of them, who'd never yelled, who'd loved them when nobody else would. His voice was calm, but underneath, steel. Mom, we're going to fix this. Boys, I don't want you to get in trouble because of me. We won't get in trouble, Robert interrupted. We'll do this legally, professionally, and we'll destroy them. James nodded. Completely. Daniel turned from the window. They wanted to fuck with our mother? Big mistake. Marcus stood, looked at his three brothers. Mom, go make some tea. We need to talk. Eleanor hesitated, then nodded, went to the kitchen. The four brothers moved to the living room, closed the door. Marcus spoke first. Jenkins is a dirty cop, has been for years. Daniel, what do you have on him? Daniel pulled out his phone, scrolled through files. The DA's office has a folder, 10 complaints, bribery, excessive force, witness intimidation, but nobody wants to prosecute. He's old, close to retirement, political mess. Fuck politics, Robert said. What about evidence? Circumstantial mostly, but there's one complaint that's solid. Woman named Lopez says Jenkins demanded money to not arrest her son. She has text messages. Marcus turned to Robert. Coleman, what can we hit him with? Robert grinned, cold smile. Everything. I'll pull property records tomorrow. I guarantee he's violating housing codes. Probably 15 different violations across his properties. Plus, I can find tenants he's harassed. Build a class action suit. James looked confused. What can I do? I'm a doctor. Medical records, Daniel said. Coleman looks unhealthy. High blood pressure, diabetes maybe. Did he file for disability insurance? James's eyes lit up. If he claimed disability, but he's still collecting rent and managing properties, that's insurance fraud, Robert finished. We can add it to the lawsuit. Marcus paced, mind working. I can't be directly involved. I'm a federal judge. Conflict of interest. But I know judges, a lot of judges. I can make sure the right people hear these cases. Daniel nodded. I'll file criminal charges against Jenkins. Bribery, extortion, abuse of power. With Lopez's testimony and the other complaints, we have a case. Robert looked at his brothers. And I'll file a civil suit against Coleman. Housing violations, harassment, fraud. We'll force him to sell all his properties, including this one. Which we'll buy, Marcus said. Put it in Mom's name. She'll own it outright. James raised a concern. This'll take months. Mom only has a week. Robert waved his hand. I'll file an emergency injunction tomorrow morning. Prevent any eviction until the case is heard. That'll buy us time. Daniel cracked his knuckles. So we're agreed. We're destroying these assholes. Completely, Marcus confirmed. Legally, James added. And professionally, Robert finished. They looked at each other. 4 boys who'd been saved by one woman. Now 4 men who would save her back. Daniel smiled. Dark smile. You know what Mom taught us. They all said it together. You can do bad things, but don't get caught. Laughter. Quiet. Dangerous. Marcus walked to the door, opened it, called out, Mom, you can come back. Eleanor returned, carrying tea, looked at their faces. What did you decide? Marcus took her hand. We decided that you're not leaving this house, ever. And Jenkins and Coleman are about to learn a very important lesson. What lesson? Daniel's smile was sharp. Don't fuck with our mother. Monday morning, Robert's law office. Downtown high-rise, 40th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. View of the whole city sprawling below. The 4 brothers sat around a glass conference table. Expensive leather chairs. Coffee in bone china cups. Legal pads. Laptops open. Tablets glowing. Robert stood at a whiteboard, marker in hand. He'd changed from yesterday's casual clothes into his work uniform. 3-piece suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. $2,000 suit for a $2,000 an hour lawyer. He drew 2 circles on the board, wrote names in block letters. Jenkins, Coleman. All right, let's break this down. 2 targets. We hit them simultaneously. They don't see it coming until it's too late. Marcus sat at the head of the table. Judge posture, straight back, hands folded. Even in casual Monday clothes, he looked authoritative. Run through it. Start with Jenkins. Jenkins first, Robert agreed. Tap the name with his marker. Daniel, your lead on this. What's your play? Daniel opened his laptop, pulled up files. State prosecutor's database. Confidential, but he had access. I pulled the case file this morning, 6 a.m., before anyone else got in. 10 complaints spanning 15 years. 10. He turned the laptop so they could see. List of names, dates, charges filed, status. Most were dismissed. Insufficient evidence. Witnesses recanted. Some disappeared entirely. Classic dirty cop tactics. James leaned forward. Doctor's focus, intense, precise. He intimidated them. Obviously, but proving it is harder. Victims of cop intimidation don't want to testify. They're scared. They have reason to be. Except Lopez, Marcus said. Statement, not question. Except Maria Lopez. Daniel clicked through files, pulled up her case, photos of text messages, bank records, dates and times. 3 years ago, her son Miguel was arrested. Drug possession, small amount, first offense. Should have been simple. Probation, community service, maybe drug counseling. But Jenkins saw an opportunity, Robert guessed. Exactly. He told Lopez the DA was going hard. Her son would do 2 years minimum, unless she paid, James finished. $5,000, cash. Jenkins would lose the evidence. Case goes away. Nobody knows. Robert whistled low. That's not just bribery. That's extortion. Federal crime. State first, Daniel corrected, but yeah, major charges. Problem is, Lopez is terrified, won't talk, won't testify, afraid Jenkins will retaliate against her, against Miguel. Marcus pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts. I'll handle that. Judge Thompson owes me 3 favors, big ones. I'll call in one. If you file charges, Thompson will take the case. He'll grant protective custody for Lopez and her son, witness protection if needed. Thompson hates dirty cops, James remembered. His brother was killed by one 20 years ago. Exactly why I'm calling him. This is personal for him. He'll make sure Jenkins gets no breaks, no friendly deals, no soft judges. Daniel nodded slowly. That could work. If Lopez agrees to testify with protection, I can file charges, build a case, not just her testimony. I'll dig up the other 9 complaints, find patterns, prove Jenkins has been doing this for years. How long? Robert asked. Always about timeline. Lawyers lived and died by calendars. 2 weeks to build the case, another week to file. Arrest happens immediately after filing. We do it publicly, during his shift, in front of his fellow officers. Marcus smiled. Cold smile. Poetic justice. The best kind, Daniel agreed. Robert turned to the second circle on the whiteboard. Coleman. Tapped it hard enough the marker squeaked. Now this asshole. I spent yesterday evening and all night pulling records. Public records, court filings, building permits, code enforcement violations. He opened his tablet, showed them a massive spreadsheet, color-coded, cross-referenced, hundreds of entries. Coleman owns 15 properties, all residential rentals, mostly lower-income neighborhoods, places where tenants don't know their rights, don't have money for lawyers. He zoomed in on a section. I pulled code enforcement records for the last 5 years. 32 violations across those 15 properties. 32. James scanned the list. Electrical issues, mold, structural problems, pest infestations, broken heating, water damage. Jesus Christ. He ignores all of it, collects rent, does minimal maintenance. When tenants complain, he threatens eviction. Most back down. They can't afford to move, can't afford to fight. Daniel's jaw clenched. That's predatory. It's criminal negligence, and it gets better. Robert pulled up another document. I found 3 former tenants who sued him, settled out of court. All 3 signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They can't talk about what happened. NDAs can be challenged, Marcus said immediately, if there's evidence of ongoing fraud or danger to others. Exactly. I called all 3 this morning, early, before they left for work. And, James prompted, they're pissed, really pissed. Coleman threatened them, withheld security deposits. One woman, Angela Torres, has a 7-year-old daughter with asthma, made worse by black mold in Coleman's property. He refused to fix it. She sued. He settled for $20,000 on condition she never spoke about it. But now she can speak, Daniel said, because there's evidence of ongoing violations. She's willing to testify. So are the other 2. We have a class action lawsuit waiting to happen. Marcus nodded approval. Housing code violations, fraud, intimidation, harassment. What else? Robert grinned. Shark grin. Disability fraud. He pulled up another document. Medical records, insurance claims, bank statements. 2 years ago, Coleman filed for disability insurance. Claims he suffered a work injury, back problems, can't work, can't maintain properties, he's disabled. James saw it immediately. But he's managing 15 properties, collecting rent, doing maintenance calls. That's not disabled. Exactly. He gets $1,200 a month from the state, has for 2 years, $28,800 total. That's fraud, Marcus said flatly. Federal fraud, and I can prove it. I have photos of him at properties, video of him carrying lumber, receipts for maintenance work he personally performed. Where'd you get photos? Daniel asked. Robert smiled. I hired a PI, same guy Mom used last year for something. He's been following Coleman for 3 days. We have everything. James still looked troubled. This feels aggressive, like we're going after him hard. 3 sets of eyes turned to him, not angry, just firm. Marcus spoke first, voice gentle but steel underneath. James, they threatened Mom. Tried to throw her out of her home. The home she's lived in for 30 years. The home where she raised us. I know, but no buts, Daniel interrupted. Mom gave us everything when we had nothing. A home, a family, love, stability. And these 2 pieces of shit think they can bully her because she's 60 years old and lives alone? Robert added. Mom taught us patience, love, forgiveness. We learned those lessons. But she also taught us something else. What? James asked quietly. She taught us to protect our family by any means necessary. Legal means in this case, but thorough, complete, total. Silence. James sighed. You're right. I'm in. What do you need from me? Medical evidence, Robert said. Coleman's health. Anything that contradicts his disability claim. Doctor-patient confidentiality prevents me from accessing his records directly. What about through a colleague, someone who treated him? James thought, pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts. Maybe. There's a cardiologist, Dr. Patterson. We work together sometimes. He might know Coleman, or know someone who does. Call him, today. We need that evidence. I will. Marcus stood up, walked to the window, looked out over the city. His city, where he'd grown up on the streets, where he'd fought, bled, survived. Now he was a federal judge, one of the most powerful people in the state legal system. And he was going to use every bit of that power to protect his mother. He turned back to his brothers. Here's how we do this. Clean, legal, professional. No shortcuts. No dirty tricks. We're better than them. We prove it by beating them at their own game. Daniel nodded. I file criminal charges against Jenkins. Bribery, extortion, abuse of power. With Lopez's testimony and the other complaints, we have a solid case. Robert continued. I file civil suit against Coleman. Housing violations, harassment, fraud, class action with multiple plaintiffs. We force him to sell all his properties, including Mom's house, which we buy, Marcus finished. $400,000, we split it 4 ways, 100 each. Put the deed in Mom's name, she owns it outright, forever. James raised a concern. Coleman wants Mom out in a week. This will take months. Robert waved his hand. I file an emergency injunction tomorrow morning. Prevent any eviction until the case is heard. That buys us time. Weeks. Months if needed. Daniel cracked his knuckles. Old habit from when he used to fight. So we're agreed? We're destroying these assholes. Completely, Marcus confirmed. Legally, James added, making sure. He was the conscience sometimes. And professionally, Robert finished. But yes, thoroughly. They looked at each other. 4 boys who'd been saved by one woman. 4 men who would save her back. No question, no hesitation. This was family. Daniel smiled. Dark smile. Prosecutor smile. You know what Mom used to tell us when we'd get caught doing something? They all remembered, said it together. You can do bad things, just don't get caught. Laughter. Quiet. Dangerous. But this time, they weren't doing bad things. They were doing justice. And justice, done right, was the most dangerous thing of all. Marcus walked to the door, opened it, called to his assistant in the outer office. Sarah, can you bring us more coffee? And some food. We're going to be here a while. They worked through lunch, through dinner, into the night, building cases, gathering evidence, making calls. By midnight, they had everything. By morning, Jenkins and Coleman would never know what hit them. Tuesday afternoon, Daniel walked into a small house in the suburbs, modest neighborhood, chain-link fences, kids playing basketball in driveways. Maria Lopez answered the door. 40 years old, tired eyes, housekeeper's uniform. Mr. Chen? Ms. Lopez, thank you for seeing me. She let him in. Small living room, worn furniture, photos of her son on the walls. They sat down. You said you wanted to talk about Officer Jenkins. Daniel nodded. 3 years ago, he arrested your son, Miguel. Drug possession. Her face hardened. Miguel didn't do drugs. Those weren't his. I believe you, but Jenkins said he could make it go away for $5,000. She looked at her hands. I paid. I had to. Miguel's my only son. I couldn't let him go to prison. You did what you had to do. No judgment. But Jenkins committed a crime, bribery, extortion, and I can prove it with your help. He'll come after me. No, he won't, because I'm going to put him in prison. She looked up, desperate hope in her eyes. You can do that? I'm a prosecutor. It's my job. But I need you to testify. Tell the court what happened. Show the text messages. He said if I ever told anyone, he said he'd retaliate. I know. But Ms. Lopez, he can't hurt you if he's in prison, and I can guarantee he'll never badge or a gun again. She was quiet for a long time. Why do you care? You don't know me. Daniel's voice was soft. Because Officer Jenkins threatened my mother, tried to throw her out of her home, and I won't let him hurt anyone else. Not you, not Miguel, not anyone. Maria looked at him, really looked, saw the pain, the anger, the determination. Your mother is lucky to have a son like you. I'm lucky to have her. She saved me. Now I'm saving her. Will you help me? She took a breath. What do I have to do? Wednesday morning. Robert filed the emergency injunction, 10-page brief, detailed list of Coleman's violations, testimony from 3 former tenants, evidence of disability fraud. The judge, Judge Martinez, civil court, read it in 30 minutes, called both lawyers to chambers. Coleman's lawyer was some kid fresh out of law school, looked terrified. Robert sat calmly, expensive suit, confident smile. Judge Martinez looked at Coleman's lawyer. Your client owns 15 properties, 32 code violations, 3 lawsuits settled with NDAs, disability fraud. And now he's trying to evict a 60-year-old woman with 1 week's notice during rent control. Do I have that right? The kid stammered. Your Honor, my client has the right to manage his properties as he sees fit. Bullshit. He has the right to follow the law, which he hasn't done. I'm granting the injunction. No eviction until this case is fully heard. Trial date set for 6 weeks from now. In the meantime, Mr. Coleman will repair all code violations immediately. Robert didn't smile, stayed professional. Thank you, Your Honor. The kid looked like he might cry. But, Your Honor, denied. Get out of my chambers. Outside the courthouse, Robert called Marcus. Injunction granted. Mom's safe. Good. Now we finish them. Thursday. Daniel filed criminal charges. State courthouse. Morning docket. Packed courtroom. Officer Jenkins sat in the gallery. Didn't know why he'd been summoned. The bailiff called the case. State versus Nathan Jenkins. Charges: bribery, extortion, abuse of power. Jenkins stood up, confused, angry. What the fuck is this? Judge Thompson, 50s, black, no nonsense, looked down from the bench. Officer Jenkins, you're being arraigned. Sit down. This is bullshit. I didn't do anything. That's for the jury to decide. Prosecutor, present your evidence. Daniel stood, calm, professional. Your Honor, the state has evidence that Officer Jenkins solicited and accepted bribes in exchange for making criminal charges disappear. We have text messages, bank records, testimony from multiple victims. He handed documents to the bailiff, who handed them to the judge. Thompson read, face darkened. Officer Jenkins, you're accused of accepting $5,000 from Maria Lopez to drop charges against her son. True or false? Jenkins's face went red. She's lying. We have text messages from your personal phone. Quote, 5,000 cash, charges go away, nobody knows. Is that your number? Silence. Officer Jenkins, answer the question. I want a lawyer. Smart choice. Bail is set at $50,000. You're suspended without pay pending trial. Next court date in 30 days. Thompson slammed the gavel. Jenkins looked around wildly, saw Daniel standing there. Cold smile. You fucking did this. Daniel didn't blink. I'm just doing my job, prosecuting criminals. Turns out, you're one of them. 2 officers, Jenkins's former colleagues, led him away, in handcuffs. The whole courtroom watched. Daniel walked out, pulled out his phone, called his brothers. Jenkins is arrested, suspended, trial in 30 days. Marcus, good, 1 down. Friday, James came through. He'd called a colleague, doctor who'd treated Coleman 5 years ago. Yeah, I remember him. Came in complaining of chest pains, high blood pressure, diabetes. I told him to lose weight, exercise. He ignored me. Did he ever file for disability? Not that I know of. Why? He's claiming he can't work, gets disability payments, but he's managing 15 rental properties. The doctor paused. That's fraud. Can you testify to his condition? If subpoenaed, yes. But doctor-patient confidentiality, this is a civil case, fraud investigation. Confidentiality doesn't apply if there's evidence of a crime. Then yes, I'll testify. That asshole owes me $200 from his last visit anyway. James called Robert. Got a doctor who'll testify Coleman's faking disability? Robert laughed. Perfect. Added to the lawsuit. 6 weeks later, trial day, civil courthouse. Robert represented Eleanor and the 3 other tenants who joined the class action. Coleman sat at the defendant's table, sweating. His lawyer looked miserable. Judge Martinez presided. This is a class action suit. 4 plaintiffs alleging housing code violations, harassment, and fraud. Mr. Chen, present your case. Robert stood. Your Honor, Mr. Coleman owns 15 residential properties. He has systematically violated housing codes, endangered his tenants, and committed fraud. I'll prove all of it. He called his first witness. Former tenant, woman with a daughter. Ms. Torres, you rented from Mr. Coleman for 2 years? Yes. Did he maintain the property? No, the heat didn't work. Mold in the bathroom. I complained. He threatened to evict me. Did you have proof? I took photos. Robert showed the photos to the jury. Black mold, broken heater, exposed wiring. Your Honor, this violates Housing Code Section 12.3. Landlords must maintain habitable conditions. He called the building inspector, who testified that Coleman had ignored 17 violation notices. He called the doctor, who testified that Coleman had claimed total disability, but was clearly managing properties. He showed bank records, disability payments, rent collection. Coleman was double-dipping. By the end of the day, Coleman was finished. Judge Martinez didn't even deliberate long. Mr. Coleman, you violated state housing codes, defrauded the disability system, and harassed vulnerable tenants. I find in favor of the plaintiffs. You will pay $200,000 in damages. You will sell all 15 properties within 90 days, and I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Coleman stood up, red-faced. You can't make me sell my properties. I just did. Bailiff, remove this man. Coleman was escorted out, yelling, threatening. Robert walked over to Eleanor, who'd been sitting in the gallery. Mom, the house is going up for sale. We're buying it. She started crying. You boys don't have to. We already decided. $400,000. We're splitting it. 100 each. The house goes in your name. You own it forever. Marcus, James, and Daniel surrounded her. You gave us a home, Marcus said. Now we're giving you one. Eleanor hugged all 4 of them, crying, laughing. I love you, boys. We love you too, Mom. 2 months later, Jenkins's criminal trial took 3 days. Maria Lopez testified, showed the text messages, explained how Jenkins had extorted her. 4 other witnesses came forward. People Jenkins had bribed, threatened, hurt. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Judge Thompson sentenced him to 5 years in prison. Loss of pension. Permanent ban from law enforcement. Jenkins was led away in handcuffs, screaming about injustice. Daniel watched from the prosecutor's table. Justice served. Coleman declared bankruptcy, lost all 15 properties. The state pursued criminal charges for disability fraud. He pleaded guilty, got 2 years probation, had to repay every dollar. Last anyone heard, he was living in a studio apartment, working at a grocery store, broke, alone, broken. The house on Maple Street was transferred to Eleanor Chen. Deed signed, notarized, recorded. She owned it completely. Marcus, James, Robert, and Daniel paid for renovations. New roof, new kitchen, fixed the heater, painted everything, made it perfect. 1 year later, Sunday dinner. Same house, same table. But now it belonged to her. 4 brothers sat around the table, arguing, laughing, loving. Eleanor brought out a roast, set it down. "Boys, I want to say something." They quieted. "Thank you for everything. You saved me, and I'm so proud of who you've become." Marcus smiled. "You saved us first, Mom." All we did was return the favor. James raised his glass. "To Mom, the strongest woman we know." "To Mom." They drank. Robert leaned back. "So, anyone hear about Jenkins? He's getting out in 4 years. Daniel grinned. "Think he learned his lesson?" "Doubt it." "Then we'll teach him again." Eleanor shook her head, but she was smiling. "You boys are terrible." "We learn from the best." Laughter filled the house. Their house. Their home forever. The end. Epilogue. 2 years later. Sunday morning. Same house on Maple Street. But everything looked different now. Fresh paint, new roof, fixed porch, garden in full bloom. Eleanor had planted roses, hydrangeas, a small vegetable patch in the back. Her garden, her house, her home. The deed sat in a safe deposit box downtown. Eleanor Chen, sole owner. No mortgage, no landlord. No one could take it from her, ever. Inside, the kitchen smelled like cinnamon rolls, fresh from the oven, coffee brewing, bacon sizzling. Sunday dinner had become Sunday brunch. Easier timing. Everyone had busy lives. Eleanor stood at the stove, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She was reading the newspaper. Old-fashioned. She still liked physical papers. Front door opened. Marcus walked in, carrying briefcases, always working. "Mom, I'm here." "In the kitchen, sweetheart." He walked in, kissed her cheek, grabbed a roll. "These smell amazing." "They're hot. Be careful." He bit in anyway, burned his tongue. Worth it. "Where are the others?" "James is on call at the hospital. He'll be late. Robert's in court this morning. Should be here by noon. Daniel texted. He's picking up flowers." "Flowers?" "For the graves. He likes to visit them before coming here." Marcus nodded. Understood. Daniel visited his parents' graves every Sunday. Had for years. Talked to them. Told them about his life. About Eleanor. About his brothers. Told them he was okay now. James arrived at 11:30, still in scrubs, hospital smell clinging to him. "Sorry I'm late. Emergency surgery." "Patient okay?" Eleanor asked. "She will be. Triple bypass. Touch and go for a while, but she pulled through." "That's my boy, saving lives." James grabbed coffee, sat at the table, exhausted but satisfied. Robert showed up at noon exactly. Lawyer's punctuality. "Morning, Mom. Morning, Marcus. James." "How was court?" Marcus asked. "Easy win. Defense had nothing. Judge ruled in our favor. Clients happy." "Good." Daniel arrived last, carrying sunflowers, Eleanor's favorite. "Sorry, cemetery was crowded." "No rush, baby. We're just starting." They sat around the table, same spots as always, Marcus at the head, James and Robert on one side, Daniel on the other, Eleanor between Daniel and Marcus. Food passed. Bacon, eggs, rolls, fruit, easy conversation, work, life, gossip. Then Robert brought it up. So, anyone hear Jenkins got released early? The table went quiet. Marcus put down his fork. When? Last week. Good behavior. Down from 5 years to 3.5. Daniel's jaw clenched. 3.5 for 15 years of corruption. System's broken, James said. System worked fine, Robert corrected. He was convicted, sentenced, did his time. That's justice. Doesn't feel like enough, Eleanor spoke quietly. He lost his badge, his pension, his freedom for 3 years, his reputation. That's more than most corrupt cops ever face. She's right, Marcus agreed. He's 60 years old, ex-cop, ex-con. No one will hire him. He'll spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder. Daniel nodded slowly. You're right. He's finished. What about Coleman? James asked. Last I heard, he's working at a grocery store, stocking shelves, lives in a studio apartment across town, alone. Good, they all said together. Silence for a moment, then Robert smiled. Remember when we planned all this, 2 years ago, Sunday dinner? When Coleman and Jenkins showed up, Marcus remembered. We were so angry, James said. We were focused, Daniel corrected. Anger makes you sloppy. We were calculated. Mom taught us that, Robert added. Calm beats rage every time. Eleanor smiled. I'm glad you boys learned something. We learned everything from you, Marcus said. Patience, love, how to fight without throwing punches. How to destroy someone legally, Daniel added with a grin. Daniel. Sorry, Mom, but it's true. She couldn't argue. They had destroyed Jenkins and Coleman, thoroughly, professionally, legally, and they'd done it out of love. Love for her. Love for each other. Love for their family. James raised his coffee cup. To Mom, who taught 4 broken boys how to be good men. We weren't broken, Robert said, just bent. She straightened us out, Daniel finished. They all raised their cups. To Mom. To Mom. They drank. Eleanor looked at her 4 sons, her boys. Men now. Successful. Happy. Good. She'd done right by them, and they'd done right by her. That's what family did. Not blood family, not always, but chosen family, the kind you built, the kind you fought for, the kind you'd do anything to protect. That's what they were. Forever. Marcus cleared his throat. So, Mom, we've been talking. Oh no, Eleanor said. When you boys talk, I get nervous. Nothing bad, promise. We want to do something for you. You already bought me this house. That was 2 years ago. This is different. Robert pulled out an envelope, handed it to her. Open it. She did. Inside was a brochure. Cruise line. Mediterranean tour. 3 weeks. All expenses paid. What is this? Your vacation, James said. You've been taking care of us for 20 years. Time you took care of yourself. I can't afford. We can, Daniel interrupted. We already paid for it. Non-refundable. So you have to go. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. You boys didn't have to. We wanted to, Marcus said firmly. You gave us everything. Let us give you this. She looked at the brochure. Greece, Italy, Spain. Places she'd always wanted to see but never could afford. When? 2 months. June. You'll be gone for 3 weeks. We'll check on the house, water your plants, make sure everything's good when you get back. She wiped her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Robert urged. Say you'll go and have fun and not worry about us for once, James added. Say you trust us to take care of things, Daniel finished. She looked at all 4 of them, her boys, her sons, her family. Yes, I'll go. And thank you, all of you. They stood up, surrounded her. Group hug. Big, warm, safe. This was family. This was home. This was love. And nothing, not cops, not landlords, not the world, could break it. Ever.